The 501st Heavy SS Panzer Battalion was an independent, King Tiger tank-equipped battalion of the German Army, which played a vital role in the Ardennes offensive. The battalion was created in July 1943, as a part of the 1st SS Panzer Corps, by forming two new heavy tank companies consisting of Tiger I tanks and incorporating the 13th Heavy Company of the 1st SS Panzer Regiment. After the Battle of Normandy, in early September of 1944, the remains of the unit were ordered to rest and refit with the new Tiger II heavy tanks. In the autumn of 1944, the unit regrouped in the area between Bielefeld and Senneliger. In mid-October, the first new Tiger tanks arrived, and in November the battalion commander, SS Lieutenant Colonel Heinz von Westernhagen, returned to the unit after a long medical treatment. By early December the detachment was ready for further deployment. Each of the three tank companies had 14 tanks. The plan for the Ardennes offensive was to deliver a powerful blow and to regain the initiative on the Western Front. The main attack would be led by the 6th SS Panzer Army advancing from Monschau to Losheim, crossing the Meuse on both sides of Liège and then advance on Antwerp. The advance roads were assigned to the 1st SS Panzer Division Leibstandard and the 12th SS Panzer Division Hitlerjugend. Leibstandard was to use roads D and E, Hitlerjugend roads A, B and C. The 501st SS Heavy Panzer Battalion was at full strength with a total strength of 45 heavy tanks. However, the battalion was plagued with maintenance problems and mechanical breakdowns. It is probable that only around 35 Tigers actually participated in the initial advance of Kampfgruppe paper. Due to the Blitzkrieg-style operation paper needed as the spearhead of the offensive, considering the 68-ton Tigers could sustain a speed of only 38 km per hour, and with rough terrain and road conditions, the Tiger Battalion were placed to the rear of the march column from the beginning, forming the rear guard. However, after leaving the hilly section of the offensive zone, the Tiger Battalion was to be moved forward and spearhead the breakthrough to the Meuse. On December 16, 1944, due to 12th Volksgrenadier Division's slow progress in breaking through the American lines, thus opening a gap for Route D, the Tiger Battalion just started to roll out from its assembly area at Tondorf. Westernhagen's 1st Company was in the lead, which was brought up from the rear. Paper crossed Ligneville and reached the heights of Stavelot on the left bank of the Amblève River at nightfall of the second day of the operation. The battle group paused for the night, allowing the Americans to reorganize. After heavy fighting, Paper's armor crossed the bridge on the Amblève. The spearhead continued on, without having fully secured Stavelot. By then, the surprise factor had been lost. The U.S. forces regrouped and blew up several bridges ahead of Paper's advance, trapping the battle group in the deep valley of the Amblève, downstream from Trois-Ponts. The weather also improved, permitting the Allied air forces to operate. Airstrikes destroyed or heavily damaged numerous German vehicles. Paper's command was in disarray. Some units had lost their way among difficult terrain or in the dark, while company commanders preferred to stay with Paper at the head of the column and thus were unable to provide guidance to their own units. Paper attacked Stoumont on December 19 and took the town amid heavy fighting. He was unable to protect his rear, which enabled American troops to cut him off from the only possible supply road for ammunition and fuel at Stavelot. Without supplies, and with no contact with other German units behind him, Paper could advance no further. German Army Group B recorded that it lost 13 King Tiger tanks between the 16th and 31st of December, 1944. 2 were lost at Stavelot. One being Tiger No. 105 that reversed into a building which fell on top. The second was King Tiger No. 222. It was abandoned at the southern end of the Amblève Bridge on December 19. Another 2 Tiger II tanks were lost in the fields on the advance between the villages of Stavelot. One of these was Tiger No. 003. Another Tiger was abandoned at the village of Petit Spy by the bridge where it was providing covering fire. A further 6 Tiger II tanks were abandoned in and around La Glise. The Germans had hoped to get to Antwerp, during the Ardennes offensive, before the bad weather lifted. Because of all the delays they encountered on the way, Battle of the Bulge took much longer than planned. The weather changed and the snow clouds lifted. The skies quickly became filled Allied rocket-firing ground attack aircraft. If the King Tiger had enjoyed the amount of air supremacy and logistical support that the Allied armies had, the tank would probably have been a war winner. But lacking any practical air defense, being inside a heavily armored Tiger II tank was not without its risks. It was a huge machine and very hard to hide. It provided fighter-bomber pilots with a very big, easy-to-see target. Air attack was a frequent cause of destruction for the King Tiger tanks. American attacks forced the remnants of the German battle group to retreat to La Gleize. At La Gleize, Joachim Paper could see the hopelessness of the situation. His men were receiving a pounding by American artillery, tanks, infantry, and ground attack bomber aircraft. The Americans fired over 58,000 artillery shells into this area. This provides a good picture of the punishment that his men had to endure. He ordered the tanks, assault guns, and half-tracks that were still operational to be destroyed by his own men. They had run out of vital fuel and ammunition. He gave instructions for some of his men stay behind to act as a rear guard, whilst the rest tried to make their way to German lines. He wanted to make the Allies believe that they were all still fighting. He left behind an irreplaceable collection of armored vehicles that would desperately needed by the German army. He had no choice. Their supply route had been cut. The tanks could not go forward or backwards without fuel. 6 working King Tigers were abandoned, 13 Panthers, 6 Panzer IV tanks, 50 other armored vehicles, including 45 armored half-tracks. On December 24, Paper retreated with the remaining men. German wounded and American prisoners were also left behind. According to Paper, 717 men returned to the German lines out of 3,000 at the beginning of the operation. The breakout began at 0200 hours on December 24, 1944. Of the approximately 3,000 men of Task Force Paper, 850 of them who could still walk, including wounded, assembled to begin the breakout. Among them were Westernhagen and other members of the battalion. In the morning hour of December 25, 1944, he and his group has reached the Leibstandard Division's command post after a 33-hour march. On March 19, 1945, Westernhagen received an order to leave the battalion and join the officer reserve. According to the official statement, the very same day Westernhagen was killed by an aircraft bomb. However, other sources indicated that Westernhagen committed suicide after being relieved as battalion commander. Despite the failure of Paper's battle group and the loss of all tanks, the commander of the division recommended Paper for a further award. Rather than a stain on Paper's honor, the earlier killing of US POWs was celebrated in official records. In January 1945, the swords were added to his Knight's Cross. The great fame of Paper as a Waffen SS commander during the Battle of the Bulge was born. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.